Hey out there, I'm Scott Garriott, and I'm going to do a video about my Bob Dylan vinyl collection. First got into Bob Dylan, I was pretty young, but I had a copy of the movie Jerry Maguire, and the song Shelter from the Storm is at the end of that movie, and love that song so much that I just kept rewinding the end credits and watching it over and over again. Didn't know who Bob Dylan was, but that was my first time I remember really getting into a Bob Dylan song. Then I heard Like a Rolling Stone on the radio and fell in love with it immediately, and picked up a cassette tape actually of his greatest hits and got into some of his other songs. Then eventually, when I started buying albums, CDs back then, it was got Desire and Highway 61 Revisited, and they immediately became my favorite albums. And then from there, it just got deeper and deeper into it, and now I have all of his studio albums on vinyl and more. So I'm going to show my collection. It's going to be kind of a long video because he's got a lot of albums, and I have a lot of his records. So I'm going to get a little bit record nerd, type talk on this because I am into records, the pressings and all that stuff. I'll try to get too deep in the weeds with that stuff. And a lot of them, once I get to like the 70s, 80s, 90s, it won't be as much of an issue. But we'll start off with his debut album, Bob Dylan. I think this is an underrated album. Only has a couple of originals on it, so it makes sense why it's not like as highly regarded as some of his later albums. But I just love the energy on this one. The harmonica playing, the guitar playing, the singing, has kind of like a folk punk attitude to it, which I really like. And then the slower songs have a really like kind of warm humanity that I really enjoy as well. This is not a original Columbia 6i, that's kind of like one of my grails. I want to get a original 6i. This is like a 1965 mono 2i pressing, which is good enough for now. It's good, really good condition, so happy to own that one. This next one, though, is one of the best records in my collection. Here's the Freewheelin'. Definitely a classic Dylan record, but it has this rare hype sticker, which is actually not even it's not on the shrink, it's attached to the record itself. But this is like in pretty much pristine condition. I mean, not like pristine, but like strong VG plus, close to near mint condition. And I saw this in a record store for $100, and it was like the easiest $100. I spent $100 on this like I was paying a water bill. It was just like no question I was going to pick this up because it's a original mono of this album, the 2i label and all that. And this is one of my prized records in my collection. This is The Times They Are Changing. Not as good a condition as that last one, but still an original mono, I believe, on that one too. This next record is one that I can never find a great copy of. This is a UK copy from the 60s. I think it's an original, but for first year or whatever. Can never find this one in really good condition. I don't know why, or if I do, it's like a later 70s press, and I really like to get a nice original. Even this one's a little scratched up, but gotta have it in there as a placeholder for sure. This one is Bring It All Back Home, one of my favorite albums of all time. The next three are all among my favorite albums of all time, but this is like a 67 or something like that. But I'd like to get an original mint copy of that or something a little more special, but great album there. All right, this next one is one of my favorite albums of all time, Highway 61 Revisited. It was my favorite album of all time for a long time, and still in my top 3, top 5. But this is an original pressing from the 60s in the shrink with the hype sticker. The shrink's, it's kind of coming off a little bit, but still cool to have that as a document. I also have this 70s press from Japan with a little obi strip on there. This actually has the alternate version of from a Buick 6, so that's cool to have as well. Then I have 2 copies of Blonde on Blonde. One is a mono from 66, the other's a stereo from 68. The stereo one's in much better condition, so that's why I kept that one. But the mono sounds really good. It's really pretty scratched up, but the scratches don't really play that much, and I just love the way the mono sounds on this album. So couldn't really bring myself to sell either one of those. They seem to both serve a purpose in the collection. Here's John Wesley Harding. I think this album's underrated. Other than those last 3 Electric albums, this might be my favorite or one of my favorites. Took me a while to get into though, but this is an original 6-side mono of John Wesley Harding. Got Nashville Skyline with the hype sticker and the shrink there. This is just a pretty standard copy of Self Portrait, but I actually kind of enjoy this album. I know it's hated by a lot of people, but I think it's a pretty fun album and kind of an interesting album in context of his career. It'd be kind of a fun one to do a review on someday, I think. New Morning. This was one of my favorites for a while. I don't listen to it that much anymore, but I'd still rank it among my favorite Dylan albums. It's got a very unique, kind of uplifting vibe to it. If you've seen The Big Lebowski, that song "The Man in Me" is on that album. There's Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid soundtrack. 70s press. I think this album's a little overhated. This is called Dylan. This is usually called his worst album or one of his worst albums, but I actually really enjoy it. Not a great album. It's all covers, and yeah, I like it. Some of the Mr. Bojangles is great, and Lily of the West too. But it's in the shrink with the hype sticker and a little sales sticker on there, little price tag sticker. But it's funny, the hype sticker just has all the all the songs listed because a lot of them are popular songs. Got like Big Yellow Taxi on there and stuff. This is Planet Waves in the shrink with that Bob Dylan was not on the final. If you take the shrink off, that Bob Dylan wouldn't be on there. It's on a sticker on the shrink, so it's kind of cool to have that one in that form. Here's another one, one of his best albums, most popular albums, Blood on the Tracks, with the hype sticker there too. It's an original, it's his first year. You can tell if it has black lettering, it was the first year. If it has white lettering, I think it's the second or third year. There's also one that just has a picture on the back. But this is the Basement Tapes, and this is pretty cool because it's a white label promo. Those are records that were sent out to radio stations, and they're usually more valuable because they, were some of the first pressings, and they tend to sound better because they would send radio stations better sounding albums because they were playing them on the radio, and it has the timing strip on the back there. Here's a basic 70s copy of Desire. This was my favorite album of all time for a while. Probably not even in my top 5 Dylan albums anymore, but still a fantastic album. And here's a Japanese press of Desire with the Obi strip, which I always enjoy those. Here's Street Legal, white label promo of Street Legal. These original copies didn't sound that good, even the white label promo doesn't sound that great, but still a cool collector's item. And I just recently picked up this Simply Vinyl copy of Street Legal with the new mix, or the 1999 mix, which sounds quite a bit better. I usually prefer vintage copies, but the mix on this one just sounds so much better than the original. I think I'll play that from now on when I'm playing that album. All right, then we begin his Christian phase with Slow Train Comin'. Another one in the shrink with the hype sticker there. Here's a copy of Saved, which I don't ever listen to this album as a whole, but there's a couple tracks in there I enjoy. We got Shot of Love, which is a mix of some really amazing songs and some really not good songs, but I like it. Infidels, another one, mix of great songs and bad songs, but definitely worth owning for the great songs on there, like Joker Man. Empire Burlesque, we're getting into his really into his 80s stuff now. Yeah, the opening track and the final track are good on this one, at least. And Knocked Out Loaded, best album of all time. No, this is a pretty bad album, but Brownsville Girl is great, and it's in the shrink with the hype sticker. Picture's the same on the front and back, which is pretty funny too. And then we got Down in the Groove, which I never really listened to. It's just, you know, life's too short to listen to Down in the Groove very much, but I like a couple songs on there, I guess. Got Oh Mercy. This album's actually really good. It's kind of a return to form, and it's got a really consistent atmosphere and some of his best songs of that decade for sure on there. Got his first album of the 90s, Under the Red Sky. I don't know if I've ever listened to this album front to back. I remember liking the title track a bit, but I just need to listen to this, you know, just to get a more concrete opinion on it. All right, and then we got this album, Good As I've Been to You, which was an album of all covers, which I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. Some really nice sounding covers of old traditional songs with some really simple, appealing melodies. And he did the same thing with this album, World Gone Wrong. I guess it's a bit darker, but it's still similar vibe to Good As I've Been to You. And then this was the beginning of his renaissance with Time Out of Mind. This is an original 97 press, which has gone up in value quite a bit. I bought it when it was just normal price. Not in 97, but, you know, in the 2000s sometime. And not going to sell it, but glad I don't have to pay the premium price for it now. And then this is also original 2001 copy of Love and Theft, released on 9/11/2001, which is crazy. But that one, I think, won a Grammy for Best Album. This one, I remember when it came out, this was like the first time I remember being super aware of a Bob Dylan album as it was released, and just listened to it a ton, got really into it. Modern Times. Really love this album. This and Time Out of Mind are my favorite of his later period ones, if you count Time Out of Mind as the beginning of his later period. Then we got Together Through Life. This one was getting kind of expensive for a vinyl. I don't know if it still is, but for a while it was kind of getting up there in price. But not as big into this one. There's a couple songs on it I like, but not one of my favorites personally. Now this one actually is really crazy valuable for some reason, or not in the $100 range. But I bought it when it came out, just to have every Dylan album. And I'm not saying it's the best album of all time, but Must Be Santa is one of my favorite Christmas songs. At least Dylan's version of it. And then Tempest, I think, is a bit underrated. Not perfect, but I really enjoy this one a lot. Kind of a return to form, back from the Modern Times, Time Out of Mind, Love and Theft kind of vibe there. These next three, I admit, I have really not listened to very much. I got Shadows in the Night and Fallen Angels, which I bought when it came out, and then I sold it, and then just because I realized I wanted to collect every Dylan album again, I bought it again, and I have not taken it out of the shrink. It's still sealed, but might listen to that one at some point. But those Sinatra cover albums are not my favorites, and I haven't listened to Triplicate yet. I will someday, but, you know, big undertaking for something I'm not sure I'll enjoy. But I do own it on vinyl though, because you gotta, when I have this many Dylan albums, you gotta get them all. This is a bit of a return to form too. Came out a couple years ago, Rough and Rowdy Ways. Haven't listened to it a ton, but I do really like some of the tracks on here, and I'd like to listen to it more. Kind of a cool gold vinyl on that one. And then this, just picked this up. Haven't listened to it much, but it's called Shadow Kingdom. Pretty shiny there. Also sealed. I have not played this record. I listened to some of it on Spotify, and it was all right. A lot of covers of his modern day covers of some of his old songs. But I'll give that another listen at some point. All right, now we're into, so that's his whole studio album output there. I believe I covered them all. This is a copy of Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits. I think this has the poster in it. This is from the 60s because it's got that, it's from the 60s? It's got that 2i Columbia label. Let's see if it's got the poster. Yep, got the poster with it. Picked it up at a record show a year or two ago. And I got a kind of shoddy copy of Greatest Hits Volume 2. I have kind of normal copy of Before the Flood, which I haven't really listened to very much. Hard Rain, I just picked this up, a Japanese copy of it. I was like, I guess I sold my old copy of Hard Rain, and I was like, I gotta, complete this Dylan collection again. And not that much more for the Japanese press with the Obi, so I'm like, might as well get a interesting copy of that album if I'm gonna buy it. This I found in a record store, a Japanese copy of Live at Budokan. This is pretty cool. Real Live, which I have not listened to very much. Dylan and the Dead. I kind of like this album. It's got maligned, not very well liked, but I do want to show the album. So most of these albums are originals. For this is not an original. This is a Record Store Day press from like 5-10 years ago. But this is a very cool disc. So normally I like to get the originals, but I'm not going to lose any sleep having a repress of this, especially when the disc is cool like that. This one's kind of rare. It's an original copy of Unplugged, MTV Unplugged from the 90s. This, I believe, is a bootleg. Bob Dylan at Carnegie Hall, recorded in '61, so that was before he even put his first album out. But I remember enjoying that one. Alright, now we got some bootlegs to show. This is his most famous bootleg, Great White Wonder. This design on there was not part of the original cover. The original cover was just blank white, but somebody drew on it, and I think it makes it a more interesting cover, personally. Yeah, I like that. This is 4 songs from Ronaldo and Clara, which is a movie he did in the 70s, which I have not watched, but maybe someday. Blind Boy Grunt, another bootleg. Another bootleg, I forget what this one's called, but found it in a record store and it wasn't that expensive, so why not throw it in the collection. And this is called While the Establishment Burns. These are just mostly just random bootlegs I found at record shops. And then we got some obscurities here. This I just found in a record store randomly, and it's a single from the Brownsville Girl era, but it actually has Brownsville Girl on it, so that was it was cheap. Wouldn't have bought it if it was any other artist, but since I'm obviously collecting a lot of Dylan stuff, picked that one up. Another single from the 80s, When the Night Comes Falling from the Sky, and Dark Eyes on the B-side. It's funny, both of these have amazing B-sides with not so great A-sides. Alright, got a couple of soundtracks here. This is the I'm Not There soundtrack, which is, I love I'm Not There. It's one of my favorite movies. Actually, Don't Look Back's my favorite Dylan movie, but this would be a close second. And this is actually a 4-disc record set with a bunch of different artists covering different Dylan songs. Then it has the original Bob Dylan version of the song I'm Not There at the end, which is nice because I don't have that on vinyl anywhere else. This I just picked up, a Complete Unknown soundtrack. Movie was pretty good. I saw it twice, I enjoyed it. Maybe I'll do a more in-depth review at some point, but don't have a whole lot to say about it. This I realized I didn't own, and I bought it because I just, gotta have Live 75 in your collection, Rolling Thunder Review. I really love the version of Romance in Durango on that one, especially. And here's a copy of Biograph, which was a compilation he put out back in the late 80s, I believe, maybe early 90s, but it's kind of a mix of some of his popular songs mixed in with some rarities and outtakes and stuff like that. And this is one of my favorite live albums of all time, Live 66. Really happy to own that one. This is bootleg 1 through 3, which is a fantastic collection of songs that weren't on his studio albums. Some of them are alternate versions of songs that were on his albums, but mostly it's outtakes and completely new songs. This is not the original. It was released in the 90s on vinyl when it came out, but that was always really expensive. But they re-released it like 10 years ago, 10 years ago, and happily picked that up when they did. And then this is another bootleg series, The Cutting Edge. It has a lot of outtakes from the mid-60s on it. Some really good stuff on there. And now we are down to singles, and got a couple of DVDs I'll show. This is my DVD copy of Don't Look Back, one of my favorite movies. This is a Blu-ray copy of Rolling Thunder Revue, directed by Martin Scorsese. Don't currently have a copy of No Direction Home, but I used to own that one. I'll pick it up if I find it again at a used store or whatever. I also have this copy of I'm Not There on DVD. Forgot to mention it in the video. But, all right, let's go through some of these singles here. These are not in any particular order, but this is a Tweedledee Tweedledum and By from Love and Theft, 2001 release there. This is probably the coolest one I have. This is an original 60s press of Positively 4th Street and From a Buick 6 on the B-side. That's with the original picture sleeve, which is pretty sweet. Here's Joker Man from the original from the 80s picture sleeve. Heart of Mine. This is a Hurricane single, just a picture of Hurricane Carter on there. I think with that one you have to flip it over halfway through and play the rest of the song because it's such a long song. This is Union Sundown. Not one of my favorite Dylan songs, but found it at a record store. Add it to the collection, why not? Knocking on Heaven's Door. Got Mozambique. Watching the River Flow, which was not on one of his albums, but pretty good song. This is an original 60s copy of Rainy Day Women and Pledging My Time. And then we got Wigwam and Copper Kettle. That's the last one there. All right, that's I think that's all I got there. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed me showing my Bob Dylan collection. I don't know. If you have any more ideas for videos you'd like me to do related to Bob Dylan or anything else. I mean, I definitely like a lot of other things besides Bob Dylan. He just happens to be the one I collect the most of. So thought I'd put that together to catalog my collection. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.